Hi there, I'm Jill Finley from Jill Lilly Studio, and I'm here at the Riley Blake Studios today to show you a fun project using paper foundation piecing. And you're just going to love this method because it makes foundation piecing so much easier because we do not sew through the paper. So you don't spend all that time pulling the paper out of your stitches. You're just going to love it. So the project we're going to do is this little apple a day placemat. I've made two of them here, the red apple and a green apple. By the way, this is my fabric collection called Orchard from Riley Blake. And it's fun because they're reversible. On the back I've got the fun floral. So anyway, this is the foundation we're going to work on, and the pattern is available on Riley Blake's site as a free download. So let me set those aside. It starts with the little foundation paper here, and let me show you what that looks like. When it's finished, here's my little apple block. It doesn't look much like an apple now because it doesn't have the side seams sewn on it, but when you sew the side seams out, it'll round out the apple and the bottom piece on, make the legs not quite so long, and then the top leaf, and that makes our apple the right shape. So that is what we're going to be working on, and let's get started. Okay, first of all, you're going to need the paper foundation, which is in your download, so that's the pattern. And then I have a product called Maker Paper. This is Maker Paper. It is actually a heavyweight freezer paper type product. It's 3 times thicker than regular freezer paper, so it doesn't wrinkle and buckle and shrink like regular freezer paper does. And because it comes in the nice 8.5 by 11 sheets, easy to put through your printer. So you'll just copy this pattern onto the Maker Paper. Now make sure on your printer that you copy it onto the paper side and not the plastic side. So there's a plastic coated side, just like freezer paper, and a paper side. So whichever way your printer loads, make sure mine I load with the shiny side up, and then it turns and prints on that top side. So make sure you've got it printing on the right side. Also, you need to make sure you're using an inkjet printer and not a laser printer because it melts the paper. It doesn't work on this Maker Paper. Okay, so that's Maker Paper, real important. I've got my little templates right here, already printed and cut out on the Maker Paper. So let me get my all my stuff that I'm going to need. Don't know if I need those scissors, but here's the fabrics that I'm going to use. We're going to do just the apple to start with. So I'll start out with section number 1. The sections are numbered here, and I will take number 1 and put piece number 1 right on the wrong side of my foundation and press it until it sticks. So now you can see that I've got my paper is right side out, and this is right side. So I can look at this side and see the right sides, and I can look at this side and see the right sides. So I just have to, on that first one, make sure that it's completely covering section 1, which it is, and then I'm ready to add section 2. And what you do is you'll take a small thin ruler, like there's little plastic rulers, or I've got a metal one here that's very, very thin. You can use a business card or anything that will help you fold so that you can get a nice crisp fold. And I placed it right down this line between sections 1 and section 2. So I'm ready to add 2. So that's the one I'm going to fold. I've got my ruler right next to the line. I'll fold it and then give it a good crease. Release the fabric from that side of it, see, so that I can fold. And then I'm going to trim that seam allowance. Let me use this side of the ruler. It's not a good side, let's use this side. To 1/4 inch, and just trim it off. So I have a nice straight edge. Put that ruler there. And then I add piece number 2. And piece number 2, I go back here, is red. So I'm going to place that right there and line up the seam allowances. And I can see section 2. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I can see section 2 on my through my paper, and I can tell that that covers completely section 2. Actually, that's wrong. It goes like this. I placed it wrong. There we go. That's going to cover section 2. All right, then I go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to drop my needle down right next to that fold. Can you see that needle is sitting right next to fold? Now I'm going to be using green thread so that you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to just stitch right next to the fold, but not through the paper, just right next to it. Okay, now come back over here so that you can see. So you can see that I've got a stitching line right next to the fold there. And then I will open up my paper and my fabric and give it a press. So I'm going to attach the foundation, because of that plastic coating, to the wrong side of the fabric. See that? All right, now I'm ready to do section 3. So first thing you do is fold. So fold, and then the next thing you do is trim. Take a little 1/4 inch right there and trim this off. The next thing I do is add my next piece of fabric with my raw edges even, my seam allowance, and then I will stitch right next to the fold. Drop my needle down into the fabric right next to the folded paper, and here we go. Let's take a look at that again. You can see the stitching line right there next to the fold. Okay, and then over to the pressing mat, and I'll press this open. Pull the fabric so that you don't have any wrinkles, and that's attached to my foundation block. Looking good. All right, now we're going to do section 4, because that was 3, so let's do 4. Place your ruler right here next to the line. Now don't put your ruler right on the line to make the fold, because if you have your ruler just to that little, like I can see, just a sliver of white next to that line, so that when I fold that, my stitching line, when I stitch right next to it, will be on the fold. Right on that line. So I'm going to crease that good, and then release the fabric that needs to be trimmed off. This fabric is attached, but it needs to be trimmed off, so we're going to release it off. Make my crease. Use my cutting ruler. So I've got a folding ruler and a cutting ruler, and I'll throw away that little piece. And the next piece is piece number 4, is this large piece here. And with this method, you don't have to pick this up and hold it up to the light to see if you're getting it in the right place, because you can see through the back of the paper that this piece I've got laying down completely covers that shape that I'm trying to make. So under the needle again, I'm sewing, like I said, with green thread so that you can see it, because the white thread's really hard to see on camera. So right next to that fold, okay, come over to my ironing board, open the fabric, open the paper, give it a little press. Making progress. Okay, number 5, folding ruler, fold. That one released really nicely. And then trim. The trimming makes it easy so that you don't have a lot of extra fabric on the back, and you don't have to guess what size shape you're going to put. My foundation patterns come with the size written on it. This is just a mock-up, but I will, in the download that you get, it will have the size of the pieces that you need to cut for each section, so you don't have to guess. It'll be easy. And then we'll stitch this next to the fold. Come on, open the fabric, open the paper, press. Whoops. Okay, that was 5, so let's do 6. We just have 2 more shapes to do. Folding ruler, next to the line, fold, fold, nice and tight, trim, add my next piece. Stitch. All right, now we're going to press, open the fabric, open the paper, give it a little press. You want to keep your foundation stuck to the foundation, to the fabric, so that it doesn't shift around, and then you'll get a really accurate block. So that's why the plastic coating on this paper is really nice for this method. Okay, then fold this is the last little piece, fold number 7, release the fabric. Give it a good crease. Trim off the excess. And the last piece, line those up right there, seam allowance. And here we go. Drop my needle down. And sew next to the fold. Okay. Open the fabric, open the paper, press. Okay, there's our apple. Doesn't look much like an apple right now, but we're going to trim off these edges. So just on the solid line of the outside of the foundation, trim away the extra fabric. If I had a square ruler, I could have done 2 sides at once, but this is fine. There's my apple. And then when I put the seam allowance, the next pieces on, it'll turn more into an apple shape. But that's the finished foundation. Let me move these scraps off. Okay, wasn't that easy? Now this is the best part. Now we can just remove the template right off of this sewing of the block. So I'm going to, there we go, just pull that right off. Sometimes it likes to stick a little bit because it's really sticky paper. This last little piece is really tiny, so it's hard. There you go. All right, and this is the great part. My foundation is great, and I can use it again. And the second time it's even easier because the folds are already in it. So it's really simple to do. I can reuse this foundation many times. So if you're doing a quilt that has, like, I don't know, 20 foundation pieced blocks, you can reuse that pattern. You don't have to print it 20 times. Maybe print, use them 5 times, maybe print 4 of them. So that you can, you can easily print more, but that's just nice that you can use that again, saves paper, and now my block is ready to be pieced together to make the placemats, and foundation piecing made really simple. So I've also got, let's see, where did those go? Right over here. I've got the little leaf one I've done, and it's done the very same method. Piece number 1 is your green, and then you add number 2, which is white, which is your background. Here's the little sample. Here's number 2. There's number 3, 4, 5, 6. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to remove the foundation off of this one as well. And now my leaf can be sewn onto the top of my apple once I put the sides on. Isn't that great? Okay, so both of these foundations are downloadable on the Riley Blake site. And then the next thing you're going to do to create this little placemat, let me move these things out of the way, is you're going to sew this. Let's move this too. This, and then we've got our sides. I won't take the time to do that, but you can see how it's going to go together. With this is the one piece, and then this goes on one side. And here's your body of your, put that right here. This is the body of your placemat, and that will go right there. So that's how it goes together, and I'm going to sew this together. So I'll start with the apple and put the little seam allowances on the side. Oh, and I do need my board, my ironing board. So let me get that so I can press this last piece. Okay, so my placemat is put together, and I've cut the pieces a little bigger than they actually need to be so that after I quilt, I can trim it down. The next thing I will do is layer my quilt sandwich. So I've got my backing here. There's my backing fabric. I'm going to put that wrong side up. And then my batting, and you can use any batting you like. I'm choosing to use, this is a Flex Foam, I believe, by Pellon, and it's fusible. It's the foamy stuff, but you can get it in just the plain foam, or you can get it fusible on one side, and this happens to be fusible on both sides. So then I will just press this with a hot iron. You actually are supposed to use a press cloth that's a little bit damp, and you hold your iron there for 10 seconds. So whatever the batting is you're using, follow the manufacturer's instructions. And then once you've got it all, I would actually need to turn that over and press from this side as well, but with my wet press cloth so that it will stick to that foamy batting. And then I went to the sewing machine, and all I did for the quilting was to outline my apple and my leaf. And then I went down the two sides of this bar, and I didn't do any extra quilting on these. And I just wanted to show you that as an option. Because I use the flex foam that is fusible, I don't need to, but you could do some crosshatch quilting, or you could outline the shapes, or do any fun quilting that you like. And then you're ready to bind. So before you bind, you're going to trim your block or your placemat so that it's all even, and then you want to trim them all to the same size. Mine came out to be about 14 by 18. And then I bound mine with the green fabric that I used in the leaf. So you need 2 binding strips, and this will all be in the pattern. And do the regular traditional binding, sewing on the edge and turning that to the wrong side. So there's your placemats, apple a day. I hope you enjoyed learning the foundation piecing method using maker paper. Such a great method to use. Maker paper can be found at many local quilt shops. If you can't find it, you can always get it at jilllilystudio.com. Thank you for watching.